I've been playing guitar for about 4 years now, but I still got some areas where I'm a little bit sloppy. In this next video, I wanted to show you some tips for playing You Got a Friend in Me. I'll go ahead and move this camera down. So the first place I'll start is, so after You Got a Friend in Me, and then next it goes to that F chord. So for people even in my level, you know, getting those bar chords quickly and kind of really minimizing that annoying buzzing that always kind of seems to come around. Well, a couple tips for bar chords. So you go from C to F, and a lot of times I would be like really slow. I would put down these fingers and then this finger, and it would, instead of just a 1, 2, you know, it would be a 1, 2, 3, and that, by the time I strum the chord, you know, I get a lot of buzzing because this finger is not down all the way, it's too slow. So a good way to practice is take your C chord, and then when you're preparing for the F chord, move the middle finger and practice getting these fingers to hit all at the same time. And so that'll help you to get faster. Also, with bar chords, a couple tips with bar chords is they're really finicky. I mean, you know, if you're a first-year guitarist or, you know, you've been playing for 4 months, I mean, you have the finger strength. I mean, you should be able to do bar chords within your first couple months of playing, but it really comes down to technique and feel that often takes people, you know, it took me basically three and a half years before I could really start doing bar chords. So I've just gotten over that slump, so I'll share a couple tips that have really helped me. The first thing is you see how your thumb kind of arcs in? One thing I found is that if I can get, you know, people say get up under the this middle half of the guitar, get a little up under it. So I find I get a really good bar chord if I get the middle of the up under the middle of the guitar right up into this crevice. And what it allows is for this hard knuckle, if I really push my thumb back, this kind of hard bone here gives me a lot of leverage. You know, it's not a pushing kind of force, but it gives me a lot of leverage and stability, and if it allows my finger position to fit, you know, this pocket is a nice point of reference for my fingers to just pop right into place. And you can see where you know, this index finger, it allows it to get straight, and I get a lot of nice extra length, you know. Second point is, you know, your arm is heavy. Use the weight of your arm. You know, gravity is your friend. You know, pushing into the fretboard is only going to cause tension and burn out your muscles down the road. If you allow the weight of your arm to hang, you'll feel it, where the natural weight of your arm allows your fingers to kind of pull the strings into the fretboard just by a downward motion. So you can allow the weight of your arm to hang and see what kind of sound you get with just kind of... So this is just the weight of my arm, and this is just a little bit of extra push. So that really quickly improved my bar chords. The other thing is keeping this elbow in close to your body. It turned the fingers so that you get this nice bony piece of your index finger, almost on the side, but not quite. And that really works to your advantage by keeping this elbow in. So allow your arm to hang, keep that elbow in. And you know, the next thing is the length of your index finger. And you see how much is hanging off. I mean, it's kind of almost to the nail, or my finger's just a little bit bent over, and it allows that, you know, this kind of bow. So even though it's bowed, my finger is straight because of the way that the bone makes contact all the way down. And that, again, you know, turning that elbow in can really help get that chicken wing. And of course, you know, there's space under my hand. So these are all ways that you can check your bar chord. Tip I'll pass along is from the C chord to the C7 chord. It's simple in theory, but if you're a beginner, and you're a beginner like me, I sometimes play my C chord like this, you know, with that thumb really pointing outward. And you know, I can sometimes my pinky's in position to get that C7 chord, but sometimes it's kind of out of place, or sometimes you can hear this slight kind of buzzing or dampening of the sound right there, and that's where the creases of my palm are kind of interfering with that E string. And at this point, I don't want that sound. I want it to ring clean. So if you move your thumb vertical, it can lift your fingers off of the fretboard, so you get a cleaner C, and it kind of helps to, it's easier to adjust your elbow or something to ensure that you land that C chord when you're ready. So that's another tip I found for playing the song with confidence. The next tip I'd like to pass along is the transition from the C chord to the A7 chord to the D7 chord. So you know, together, none of those chords are difficult to play, but the transition, you know, when you want to make that fast transition, there's a, you know, how can we decrease the effort and increase our confidence in playing that transition smoothly? Well, you can play the C chord, keep your index finger on, but go ahead and move these two fingers and get that A7 chord. And with this index finger is still on, when you move your fingers down to the D7 position, you're already in alignment. You don't have to search anymore. So this index finger, this time we can leave it on, and it becomes a point of reference. So we can really get that a lot more accurately and a lot more confidently for the song. The next tip I'd like to pass along is this F chord to B chord. You know, how can you get those kind of clean? Because that's difficult. So first, let's look at them. You know, the F chord, this F chord, and this B chord, they're both bar chords, but they're different kinds of bar chords. And the technique that we will use to play these two kinds of bar chords are similar, but slightly different, okay? So as I showed you earlier, you know, allowing the weight of your arm to hang and you know, get that, it minimizes the amount of push pressure that you need. So that, of course, will be the same when we're doing this bar chord, B bar chord. But for the B, you know, we got this index finger and the ring finger on, and for that type of bar chord, we're going to move our elbow out. So we'll allow the weight of our arm to hang, and we'll move our elbow out just enough that we try to keep this finger parallel, but moving the elbow out actually turns the finger so it gets you more pressure here. So instead of getting this buzzing muting, you know, we can tighten that up and clean up that sound. Emphasize, you know, pinning your finger down here, and don't worry about, you know, trying to make a clean contact here. Go ahead and mute that string so that you can focus on getting the string right up under the strong part of your finger, and then this is naturally muted out, so it doesn't matter. So turn that arm out for that chord. The next place I want to look at is soon after we have the C chord to the B7 chord. So C chord, alright, so you know, I'm starting to get much better at my B7 chord, but you know, I remember when it was really difficult. You know, I had to, you know, really question, you know, oh, how do I get my fingers in alignment all at one time? And a way of building confidence with this B7 chord is to analyze it a little bit. So when you go from C, you know, if you're probably used to playing your G chord, your B7 chord is quite similar to the G chord. So take that same, you know, turn the whole hand or turn your elbow out and make that big motion. You can get your pinky in alignment first and then place, it's like an A7 chord. It's an A7 chord, but it's up here. So focus on getting these top 3 fingers in place first, and then get used to getting your pinky on, because as long as you got these top 3 fingers on, you know, it's gonna sound pretty much like the chord that you want. But if you only have this pinky on, you know, I don't know, sometimes you can go from the top and then add the pinky, or sometimes you can add the pinky first and then add the top. But it's kind of like where we were working with the F bar chord. You know, if you can get it, instead of 3 or 4 pieces, if you can get this down to 2 pieces, eventually you can get it down to 1 piece, and that's where you'll improve. So yeah, those are, I think, all the tips I would have for the You Got a Friend in Me song. So thank you.